Hey everybody, it's David from eevee's here, and this is your video instruction manual for the eevee Cypress electric scooter. In this guide, we're going to walk you through how to set up your scooter, some safe riding tips, and go over some advanced functions and features in there, as well as a few little tips on keeping your scooter in tip-top shape. So make sure you watch all the way through this video manual, and we'll see you on the other side. Open up what's in that box. All right, so let's take a look at what's inside our box here. Not a lot going on, but we got to go over the basics here. So first thing, you've got your little multi-tool, which is an awesome little thing to keep around. And then the screws that we're going to use to secure your handlebars to your stem. Got your charge box here. Let's get you out of here. So this is going to be your charging box that we're going to use obviously to charge up your scooter. This is what brought you to me. Little QR code there to bring us to the manual. And then of course, your scooter itself. All right, so time to see how to set up our Cypress here. So first thing we're going to want to do, pull this lever up here, your stem. Make sure you hold on to your handlebars. You see it's only connected by the brake cables here. So we don't want to let that dangle. We're going to bring it all up at the same time here. Perfect. So pretty simple up at this stage. There's really only a couple steps we need to follow. Number one, get rid of your styrofoam balls. Number two, make sure you don't let this dangle. We're gonna line up our little wires here. See the little adapter? We're gonna plug it right in there. Super simple. Pop it in. And then just tuck your wire down in there. And it's almost impossible to do, but again, make sure that your headlight is facing forward. So that's done. Second step, which is pretty obvious probably, we gotta screw in our things. Super simple to do. You're gonna use your tool that you got in the box here. So grab your screw and come around, get it in, and make sure get that down. See that? Pop that in, and super simple. So what we're gonna do is get this one in, a reasonable way. Don't screw it tight all the way at first. What you're gonna wanna do is get that in, 3/4 of the way. And then, just like tires, lug nuts on a tire, you're gonna wanna go onto the other side. And this makes sure you keep it straight. You screw both of those in, you're gonna get a little bit of an angle on your handlebars. So we're gonna go ahead and do the same thing there, and you're gonna go in a cross fashion. Next screw's there, next screw's here. Movie magic, we'll see you in a second. All right, so now that we've got our 4 screws in almost all the way, this is when you're gonna wanna go around quick and just do that final tighten on everything. Just make sure it's in there good. Same thing, we're gonna go from one side to the other side here. And you can get them pretty tight as well. Don't worry about that because you're gonna be going pretty fast on this guy. You don't want it to be rattling around on you and loosening up. They are treated with a solution to help stay in, but we'll talk about some little basic maintenance a few minutes later down the road here. Let's get our last one in. And again, anybody familiar with car tires, this is the same type of thing you're gonna be doing with those. Let's get that in there. Yeah. All right, and that's it for a setup up top. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take out this really loud styrofoam, and this is where you gotta bring in a friend. So time to phone a friend, and it's not light. The scooter's coming at 62 pounds. Get a friend, they're gonna need help with the box, lifting it out, get it on some flat surfaces, and that's what we're gonna do next. Okay, now that we've got the scooter out of the box, thanks to your favorite helper, very important, don't overlook it. Pop down your kickstand here and you won't have it falling down. And make sure you're on level ground. It may be common sense, but it's no fun watching a brand new scooter roll down a hill. So get it on your kickstand on level ground, and your next step here to your setup, and this is it, is your collar here that's gonna secure your stem to the rest of the scooter. So first thing we wanna do is make sure it's all the way down. Very careful of that. Now we've got our 3 buckles here that are gonna be a little bit loose at first, so you don't want them to be too easy to push down, but this is what's securing this together. We're gonna do 1, 2, 3. Now if that's super easy to push and it's not no effort at all, we wanna come around and tighten up on the other side here, these guys. And that's gonna create the tension that we need to keep this nice and tight and prevent any stem wobble from occurring. So our top one's nice and tight, perfect. Hear that little snap? That's awesome, that's what we want to hear. Second one, nice and tight. Third one, ooh, let's do a little tighten on there. There we go. And bring that across as well. And now we've got a nice secure stem. This is a very important part. You don't want this coming loose while you're riding, and making sure it's buckled up nicely like that is going to prevent any of those types of things from happening. So always give it a double check before you head out for a ride. All right, next up, it's time to take a look at all the different parts of your brand new scooter here. So top to bottom, let's go through a few of the important elements that you're going to need to be familiar with. So obvious things, we've got ourselves a thumb bell. It's for safety. Passing cyclists definitely use that. 2 brake handles. Performance scooters are always going to come with independent braking. Very important, is different from a bicycle. Use a reverse from what you're used to. This is your rear, this is your front. And we're going to go over some safe braking tips when we get to our riding tips. We've got down the front here, obviously our secure locking stem, front disc brakes, front suspension, charge port. Look at that little guy in there. That's where you're going to charge her up. We'll talk about that in our battery care section. And just join me up top one more time. I always apologize to my camera people. Nice big bright display on here. So if you've ridden scooters in the past, you know, you've got those little displays, super bright. We can adjust the brightness of this even. We're going to take a look at that. Single power button. This is your hook here that's going to go down and latch it for carrying. We'll show you that in a second as well. This is your throttle here, thumb throttle. A lot of people ask for thumb throttles on their scooters. We've got that for you on here. Much more comfortable, a lot of people think. And then as we go down to the bottom here, you got your kickstand that we've used. This is going to be the little latch that hook at the top is going to latch into so we can carry our scooter. Rear disc brakes, nice big fender to avoid splatters, nice footrest on there, and our brake light. Nice and bright. Make sure you're signaling to people around you what your intentions are. And of course, don't forget your rear suspension. So those are all the parts of your scooter that you're going to make you have a nice, comfortable, sporty ride. Next up, we're going to take a look at how to use it. Stay tuned for your quick start guide. Cool, let's take a look at our nice bright display here. So we're just going to turn it on, get all that stuff on there. So let's look at the different elements that we have on here. So at the very top, if you've driven scooters before, or if you haven't, 3 drive modes. We got Eco, Drive, and Sport. They're going to light up on here. Main part of our display is our speedometer. That's going to be in the middle there. Just like in a car, we got our headlight icon. What you can't see lit up is cruise control. That's going to show up right here if it's active or not. This is our battery in here. In here, we've got our odometer, and you can see it's blinking between trip. So just like in a car, how far have I gone on my journey today? And then all time. Well, we've gone 1 whole kilometer so far on this guy, moving around the store. Over here, obviously we're in kilometers per hour. And then a couple things you won't see in here is 2 error emblems that'll show up. We got a motor code error and we got a mechanical error that will light up. And that's going to show you that if there's a problem with your scooter, time to bring it into the store, give us a call and we'll diagnose what the problem is. All right, so obviously every so often you're going to need to store or move your scooter when it's not powered on. You obviously can't ride it up the stairs. Don't ride it up the stairs. So we're going to fold down the stem here for easy transport or carrying. We're going back down to these buckles again. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3. Make sure this is loosened up. Collar's going to slide up just like that. Super easy. I'm just going to fold her down. And that's where our hook and our latch come into play. So you just pop your latch up. Get that in there just like that. Hook's on. And yes, this is how it's designed to be carried a lot. We actually get this question asked a lot in stores, like, oh, is it okay to carry it? Exactly okay to carry it like this. That's what it's designed for. It's not light, like I said, 62 pounds, but it is a way you can carry it around a little bit better. Just like that, because nobody needs to be carrying a scooter that's unfolded. Putting it back up, just the reverse. We've got our latch that's gonna go down, just like that. Pulls up, there's no secrets to this. Collar goes back down, and then just like we talked about the first time round, is we wanna make sure this collar goes down. All right, so we slide our collar down just like that. And then the reverse, again, remember, make sure these are tightened. And pop all of these buckles around for nice, secure stem collar. Perfect. And you're good to go. That's all it takes to fold and unfold your scooter for easy transport. All right, so let's look at our quick start guide and just exactly how to use this fancy display. So turning it on, 1 second click. All right, so let's look at the different operations in here. So we talked about the 3 driving modes, Eco, Drive, and Sport. Let's blink between those now. Single push, Drive, single push, Sport, single push, back to Eco again. So you just cycle around those. Now, it's getting a little darker outside. We need our light. Double click, turns on your headlight, you're good to go. And that's really all there is for the operations in here. We do have some advanced operations. We're gonna look at those next. But you're on, we're in Eco, we're pretty much ready to drive. So one thing to know about this scooter is by default, our throttle is set to auto start. So what that means is as soon as we press our little thumb throttle here, we start going. So if you choose to drive like this, be aware that it is sensitive as soon as you touch it. So even if you don't intend to, your scooter motor is going to engage. But if that's how you like to ride, you don't want to do any kicks to start, just get your dominant foot ready to go, get comfortable. That kickstand out of the way, and you're ready to go and hop on. We'll show you how to switch over to the kicks mode in our advanced settings. All right, so let's take a look at our advanced settings inside here. You can do just a couple customization things in here that some people like to do to give themselves a little bit of a ride, more unique to themselves. Comes in a big long list. We're not gonna go through, nobody likes to read, so we're not gonna read everything for you. We're gonna show you what to do, particularly how to access them and how to change them. So accessing what we call the P settings, you're gonna see that a lot if you Google advanced settings on the internet. Access to them is 3 quick things. Clicks of the button, P1, P2. So you just cycle through with 1 click at a time. It's gonna go through. What we've got here is 9 of those, and then a couple real advanced ones that we'll talk about in a second. So what do we wanna do if we would change one? So P1, for example, it's our speedometer. We wanna be in miles, we wanna be in kilometers. Hold down on that setting. There we go. Now we're in miles. Now we're in kilometers. We're gonna keep it in kilometers. Just let it sit. Let it hang out for a couple seconds. Bang, there we go. It's back to our default screen here. It's been saved. If I'd switched it to miles, next time we opened up that screen with those 3 clicks, we would have seen it in miles. But we put it back to kilometers, that's what we see. So that's our first setting. Let's go to number 2. That's gonna be our system voltage. This is a 48 volt scooter. Don't change that. Number 3, that's your tire diameter. These are 8-inch tires on here. That's how your odometer is tracking your distance accurately. Do not change that. Number 4, this is your motor magnetic pole setting. Default is 31. We're gonna keep it right there. Next, 5, let's talk about some things we can change now. This is cruise control. So what happens with cruise control, just like in your car, if you're going long distances and you don't wanna keep your thumb down on that throttle the entire time, what's gonna happen is if we engage cruise control, after 8 seconds of holding down the throttle, it's gonna kick in and carry us at the speed that we were at when it kicked in. So just like a car. Be very careful using this because often, the analogy I use might be silly, but it's just like Mario Kart. We don't use brakes in video games. You know you're gonna slow down as soon as you release that throttle. Well, it's kind of the same thing on a scooter we find with many riders. As soon as you take your throttle off, you're expecting a bit of a slowdown coming to a corner just before you hit the brake. That's not gonna happen when you release it when you're in cruise control. So be careful. We recommend it really only for advanced riders and really practice it before you start engaging it. So if we go back into our P settings there, and like we said, that's number 5. It's very simple. Right now, 0 is off and we want to adjust that setting. So we're gonna hold down that button like we showed earlier. Starts blinking, which means we have access to it. You release, 1 is on, turn it back off, back to off. So very simple to change, just like 0 off, 1 on, super simple. Now we've got it locked in. Let's move up to number 6. Cycle back up there. This is our start mode. So in default, it's gonna be that instant start that we were talking about. It's not gonna work when we're adjusting our settings, so be careful. We don't have to worry about that. All right, so let's go up to number 6 here. There we go. And this is our instant and kickstart. So again, to access, 0 means instant start. That means we hit the throttle, we go. 1 means a kickstart. So just like a regular kick scooter, you're gonna have to give it a few kicks to start, and then the throttle's going to engage. We find it's usually about 3 kilometers an hour or so is when that engagement happens. And it's a little bit safer, so if you or your kid or somebody accidentally knocks that throttle, it's not going to start moving on you. And a lot of people, it's a little bit sudden if they start without that kick on it. So, and it's a natural scooter movement. I mean, come on, we all know that movement. So at least when you're starting out, we recommend staying in your kickstart mode. Let's go on to our last few here. Let's see, we're going up to number 7 this time. And this one's a pretty cool feature, and it might be something you use if you're lending it to somebody or giving it to your kid to use. This is the speed limit percentage. So default is 100. You can put this setting from all the way from 0 to 100, and it's exactly what it sounds like. You're limiting the percentage of power that comes out of that motor. This guy can get you up to 50 kilometers an hour. Well, if you're lending it out to a friend, and hey, I want to buy your scooter, but you don't trust them so much, or your kid or a friend that's not, they're a little nervous about it, you can automatically limit how fast they can go. So you say you set it at 50%, they're probably going to cap out around 25 kilometers an hour, which is more of a standard scooter speed. So it's a really useful feature. I'm not going to go through 100 little clicks of that button, so you do have to click up in 1 kilometer or 1% increments, but it's a really useful feature that can be used to give you a little safer ride for some new riders out there. All right, let's finish up here. Default out of the box for number 8, which is our auto shutoff time, is 5 minutes. So you just leave it sitting, 5 minutes later, it's going to turn itself off. This can range from 0 to 20 minutes. I don't recommend 0. And as you can see, it does go back every single time. We do have to cycle back up, but such are advanced settings in scooters. And number 9, let's hold on that. Access this. So this is our screen display brightness. And we have 3. 1, 2, 3. Again, kind of useful. We do get asked in store as well about display lights, headlights, any other atmospheric lights that may be on a scooter. Is it going to affect my battery if it's brighter? Hey, if you know electronics, you think this is a silly question, it might be for you, but it's a genuine question. No, you can put this up to the brightest display, see it nice in sunlight, and don't ever have to worry about it. Default is number 2. Get in there, put it up to 3, just leave it. You're totally fine. Don't worry about your battery. It's going to be good. And lastly, these are kind of the big ones if you want to get into it. So last time, let's go all the way up past 9. These ones don't have numbers, they have letters on them. It's going to be PA. This is restoring your factory settings. Only do that if you're bringing it into the store. And our last one is clearing both odometers. And don't be sneaky if you're reselling your scooter. We'll be able to, if they come in for an inspection, say, hey, I'm thinking about buying this guy's scooter, we're going to be able to know what that odometer read. So those last 2 settings on there, they're not something we recommend touching at all because you're going to mess with some of those settings. Wiping it clean, leave that to the professionals. So those are your advanced settings, as exciting as they are. Now it's time to move on to how to ride your scooter safely. So time to get you finally out riding. Now let's make sure we're doing that safe. So very first thing we're always going to talk about here at the store and anywhere, wear your helmet. And especially on this guy, you've got some high speed and power coming out of this one. Please, please, please wear your helmet, be safe. We want to make sure you guys are riding safely for years to come. Another top tip about riding this guy, stay away from wet weather. It's just not a good practice. Just like in a car, your traction's going to suffer a little bit. If you're caught out in a bit of drizzly weather, that's fine, but you see that rain falling, you're like, let's go sliding around. Just don't do that, it's not a good practice. Pedestrians, they're pedestrians. They have the right of way. Just like in a car, you've got to look out for them, okay? Always assume that they're not going to know you're coming. You've got a bell to warn them, but that falls hand in hand with avoiding where pedestrians go. That's on sidewalks. That's for foot traffic. You're going to be using the bike lanes. You're going to be using the side streets. Those are your places to go on a scooter like this. The cool thing about this guy with its tires is you can get off the pavement, do a little bit of grass riding, or go around your neighborhood in some other areas where the pedestrians can't go, but always be watching out for them, number 1. All right, so now that you get actually on your scooter, let's talk about some good good tips and tricks for safe riding. So the first thing we want to do, we see it all the time when we go on test rides, people getting on their scooter, and I'm going to lean it on the kickstand here just to show you. People like to ride like that, side to side, all tall and stiff. On a scooter like this, that is not going to work well for you. This guy can go fast again. Every city's got pavement that's a little cracked up. You're going to hit some bumps. Cool thing about this guy is you can get your foot in the front. You got this nice footrest back here. You got this perfect sports stance, a little bit of bend in the knees here. You can absorb some bumps. You can brace yourself for a hard break. Whatever comes your way, you're going to be ready and prepared for that. It's all about that unexpected. We come around over here to the handlebars now. We talked about our independent braking over here. Good practice. We got our thumb throttle over here so we can rest up there. This is your rear brake. Remember that's the reverse of a bicycle. So when you're braking, you don't want to slam on both at the same time, and you certainly don't want to slam on your front brake because that's going to break your front. Momentum might carry you forward. What we want to do for safe braking practices is start that brake with the rear, and then when you're coming to the final stop, we're going to finish that braking off with the front brake. And that's how they're going to be used. And it'll provide proper wear into those brake pads for you. Good practice to get into. And any cyclist out there will know it's the same kind of technique at work. And very last thing out there, of course, is when you're using this guy, make sure you're following all the rules and regulations, particular to your jurisdiction. Here in Vancouver, we're lucky. We've got some awesome people in our city here that have made these things legal for us. We can use them just like bicycles. It's helping getting people out of cars, and we're passionate about seeing that happen. It is happening in this city. So no matter where you're riding your Cypress, make sure you're abiding by those rules and regulations, all right? Well, you've got yourself an electric scooter, which means obviously a few times it's gonna need charging up. So let's go over the basics for charging. So in that little charging box that we showed you earlier with the unboxing, you've got your charging brick, as we call it here. This is the part that's gonna go into your scooter charge port. Got this guy here, which obviously is going to go into the wall. Very simple, that goes into there. And best practice, plug into the wall first. It's going to stabilize the voltage in your charger so it doesn't surge your scooter. Simply take this, lift up your charge port cover, and it is going to go a particular way. You'll see little nubs to line up. That's it. You don't have to screw that up, but if you're worried about somebody tripping over or pulling it out, I'm gonna screw that on. Simple as that. On your little brick here, you're gonna see while it's charging, light's red. When it's green, you're good to go. It's fully charged. Very simple. Now, a few little battery tricks for you. Get the longest life out of these batteries. These are good batteries in these. But a few little tips are gonna take you a long way. So for the very first time when you open your scooter, just like we did here today, is plug it in, charge it up, let it sit there for another hour or so. And that's gonna go through each individual cell in that battery pack and balance them all out so they're all at the exact same level of charge. It's a little best practice that gains you some extra life on the end of your batteries. Second thing, you've been caught out in a bit of drizzle or some wetter weather, make sure you dry everything off before you charge it in. That's pretty common sense. You know, we're not gonna plug our hair dryer in if we got it in the shower. Same thing applies here. Third thing, if you're storing your scooter, your batteries aren't gonna like just sitting there for months on end. So what you're gonna wanna do is charge it up, turn it on, and say it's at about 50 to 60%. That's a nice little percentage to store your battery off, and it's gonna trickle down very slowly. After about 2 months or so, give it a check, turn it on, see where you're at. Plug it in if it needs a little bit of charge to get back up to that sweet spot of that 50 to 60% or so. Other than that, that's your quick tip battery care. It's going to get the best life out of those batteries for you. Keep on riding for a few years. So a few best care tips for you just at the end of this manual. Get the longest life out of your scooter. A little bit of TLC goes a long way with these devices, and your Cypress is no different. The good news for you, it's really not a lot of work. So a few things we're going to talk about is cleaning. No city is clean, so as you ride around, you're going to gather up some dust, a little bit of muck and dirt on there. What you're going to want to do, this guy's a rear wheel drive, so around your motor wheel in particular, you're going to want to make sure you don't have any dirt crusted on in there. You use a little toothbrush, a little soft bristled brush, brush that off on there. Wiping down your deck, any dirt or buildup on there, just a soft, damp brush, or soft cloth, wipe it down, keep it clean, simple as that. And that'll stop any corrosion from happening on there. And particularly getting that dirt around, we talked about the wheel, keeping your disc brakes there nice and clean in there. Again, you get a little bit of cloth down in there, keep it clean. Any concerns about your brakes, though, obviously give us a call or come into the store. Some don'ts for cleaning. So you'll notice I didn't really mention any cleaning agents. You get asked all the time, Windex it or anything that's got ammonia or alcohol-based cleaning. No, you're gonna start etching into that paint. We don't want any corrosion happening. Obviously, we've got some powerful battery packs inside there. You don't want to risk anything that's going to do that. And we do get asked a couple times in the store, can I pressure wash my electric scooter? The answer is no. Please do not pressure wash your electric scooter. It doesn't have to be. If you've gotten your scooter that dirty, I don't recommend doing the riding that you're riding. So there's some basic cleaning tips for you. Some maintenance tips. Again, same thing, we get asked a lot in store. What do I need to maintain it? Not a lot, which again is a bonus for you. So first thing you want to make sure of is, you saw we put those 4 screws in to start. Well, after hundreds and hundreds of kilometers of riding, you got to make sure they're still nice and tight in there. If they're not, you got your multi-tool there, just pop it out, tighten them up, you're good to go. You don't need that rattle on there happening. And mentioning rattles, just give it a shake, Is everything nice, tight, solid? It may be a silly test, but it works. It may signify that your collars are loosening up a little bit. You want to keep an eye on keeping those tight. Maybe there's an issue down in here that you want to check out. And again, you've got the tool to keep all of these tight. These are designed to stay tight for a long, long time, but hey, you hit a few bumps, you never know what might happen. Just stay safe where you're riding out there. And then of course, just an overall visual inspection. Scratches and dings, it's gonna happen. You're gonna get out in the world and ride these things. But overall safety, you wanna make sure, just like a car, that you're not going out in an unsafe vehicle. So that's our manual. I do want to mention that, of course, you are covered by our 1-year warranty from the date of your purchase. We're going to service you right here in store and take care of you. If you need to be in the shop for a couple of days while we fix you up, we're going to get you a loaner scooter, get you back out on the road, and we'll swap out when you come back, get your fixed up Cypress. Other than that, details of the warranty are on the website. Thanks for sticking around at the end of this. You're gonna have a blast on this scooter. It is fantastic. All of us at the staff at eevee's here have taken this guy out for a run, and it's absolutely amazing. Any questions, of course, you give us a phone call, give us an email, stop by the store, message us on Instagram, YouTube. All those channels are open for you. And more than anything, have fun.